Hello, fellow YouTubers, and welcome back to Disabled DM. I'm Driven D&D, and today's video is going to be a part 2 in my world building series, is where I'm building the world of Calderra. Today, I'm going to be using Campaign Cartographer 3, so there will be a little bit of instruction on that program, as well as the actual world building process. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to screen my map. And Campaign Cartographer 3 opens up into a default map setting. So what I want to do is go to New File. I don't want to save the default setting because I've done nothing. Now, Campaign Cartographer 3 gives me options of map types because I also have Dungeon Cartographer and City Cartographer, as well as a symbols catalog. What I want to do is select Overland Maps, which is highlighted, but I don't want a predefined template. I want to decide the settings myself. So I'm going to click on that and then click Next. For a total world map, I find the Cartographer 3 standard overlay to be the best to use. So I'm going to select that and click Next. Now it gives me my dimension and widths, and it automatically selects the size that is common to most PNG files, which is 1000 pixels by 800. Now, I want to change this because I know the standard screen size is 1024 by 760 pixels. So I changed it to fit a pretty standard size that is within the range of PNG images. My map title will be area, and then you'll see it gives you choices of top left, top right, bottom left, and bottom right. So on the top left, I want to put the map title. I don't want to copyright it. I don't need nothing on the bottom left, but on the bottom right, well, actually cancel that. On the bottom left, I am gonna go ahead and pick a compass rose. And that will basically put a little compass on my map that will basically show which way is north, south, east, west. Then on the bottom right, I want to do scales. And this will put a scale on the bottom. On the bottom, that will give you an idea of a measurement of your board. And the standard scale is 0 to 100. So in that little space that it shows, that is maybe 1/10 of the entire screen, is considered to be 100 miles, or meters, or yards, whatever system of measurement you decide to use is in your rule. For me, miles is the easiest to use. Now it goes into the map background, and you have a wide selection to choose from. I like the idea of my rule having oceans. So for my background, I'm gonna choose a water map. Now, I personally prefer the water darkest setting, and because it looks more like a dark ocean. The next step is you can enable multiple levels. I'm not going to do so, but by doing so, you can have underground parts to your map. You can have your standard surface, and then you can have things floating above, such as a floating city, a floating castle. So for me, because all I'm doing is a basic world map, and I don't need any of those features, I am going to go ahead and click on Finish. And then it will pull up a file save that you want to save. It will automatically name it wherever your title is, and it will save it inside of Campaign Cartographer 3. So I'm gonna just go ahead and click Save, and then you have your basic setup to work with. Now the next step, I've already decided in my previous video I wanted 2 main continents and a bunch of smaller islands. Since then, I've changed my mind. I want 3 main continents. And the reason for this is I want one in the far north that is basically all tundra, and 2 in the lower part of the map. So I am gonna go over to the symbols on the left, and you have a bunch of different symbols and icons that mean different things. The one I'm interested in is the default map, or default landmass. I'm gonna right click it, and it gives me a bunch of options. It's the under a continent that I like, the terrain default that I'm going to use, and I'll pull that up again because I clicked too quick, is the terrain default Evil Lands Light. And the reason I like this one is it has the light gray feeling for land. So I'm gonna go ahead, select that. If it will let me, it looks like it might be messing up. Yes, it is. So, what I'm gonna do then is I'm gonna close close the file, and I'm gonna go back into Campaign Cartographer. And you'll see now, instead of taking me to the default, it automatically takes me to the map setting that I just made. And the reason for this is Campaign Cartographer 3 recognizes your maps by the last thing you did. So it automatically opens the last thing. So now that we're back to our setting, I'm gonna go back to the default map, right click, select terrain default for the all lands light, and I'm gonna come in and draw my landmass for the tundra continent that I want in the note. And this is where I get pretty particular on the shapes, whereas in the first video it was just kind of a general idea. So I want something that is gonna be interesting, and Campaign Cartographer uses a system of drawing that you can pick your specific points. So all I do is I drag my little cursor, I pick a starting point, and then I simply drag it to the next area I want. And you can make some really interesting shapes like this. Such as you see, I'm doing a pretty expansive top continent. And the reason I'm making it so thin in this case is because I have 2 other continents and some islands that I want to fit it into this script. Now, as soon you do not have to connect the lines. You can try to. But it's not necessary. And we have the program messing up again. I'm pretty sure it's because I'm also live streaming and screen sharing. And because I've never had this issue just going into Campaign Cartographer. So what I'm gonna do is just do a pretty generic one just to show you how it works. Okay. Now, I don't like the way that looks. For some reason, it did not fill it in all the way. It made it look like two little stretches. So I'm gonna undo that, go back in, select my Evil Lands light again, and Copain Cartographer 3 can be finicky, especially if you're recording and live streaming. Okay. But as far as usefulness for mapping, etc., I find it's pretty good. Now, I'm gonna go ahead come close to closing this in. And that's gonna be my basic tundra continent. It's gonna change shape slightly as I add some details to it. So now I'm gonna go in and select Landlight Bitmap. And these are gonna be